Hello again, friends. Welcome back. My name is Oscar Montesiga. Thanks for joining me here at the Booze Library. I'm at Cork Vintage Academia. I'm your host, certified wine and spirits instructor for the International Wine and Spirits Guild. And of course, if you're familiar with the channel, you know I can love to talk about spirits in general. So today, happy Thirsty Thursday. So we're celebrating Thirsty Thursday, but guess what? It's St. Paddy's Day. So to all the Irish kin, everybody with Irish heritage, and everybody that loves leprechauns, happy St. Paddy's Day to you. I think overall St. Paddy's Day, it's celebrated with usually whatever type of alcohol you prefer, and I think most people gravitate to either the Irish beers or, of course, the legendary Irish whiskey. But today I'm going to bring you something a little different, a little special. I hope you enjoy it. And I think more than anything, I haven't done a gin review before, so that's what we're doing today. I'm going to evaluate a gin coming from Ireland called Bohane. And I'll tell you more a little bit about the story here, that it is basically created by the first female Irish distiller. Her name's Deirdre Bohane, or Bohane. I'm not sure how she would want it pronounced. Bohane is what comes natural to me. Deirdre Bohane, or Bohane, it's gin that marries the art of alchemy with the beauty of local nature and in the southwest of Ireland. This is coming out of Cork. It is a refreshing distillation of blackberry, rosehip, bergamot, and bay leaf with rosemary and thyme botanicals to give you a unique gin experience. And it is made in the dry style. It's a dry style gin out of Ireland, a small batch edition at 40% ABV. And of course, what makes it a gin, which was not mentioned on the back label, is the use of juniper berries. And I think that may be actually pictured on the label. No, it's not. But there's all those very pretty botanicals, herbs, and plants that we mentioned that they're being infused with the neutral grain alcohol. And essentially that's what gin is. Again, we haven't really touched on gin before in the channel, except when we made, I think, a martini. But that's the only time we've seen the gin in a cocktail. Gin traditionally is a neutral spirit, so it is a high proof spirit. Once it's distilled, the base can be anything that is fermentable, just like vodka. As long as you have a fermentable beverage, or rather a fermented beverage, then you distill it and you have a neutral spirit. You rectify it at a very high grade. So that is what vodka and gin have in common, that it can really be made with anything that you can ferment. However, traditionally the most authentic, the most quality made gins in the UK have traditionally been made with wheat. Of course, today you can use barley, and especially those very traditional Irish whiskey producers, whether they're actually Irish or Scottish. I mean, in the UK, the whiskey producers of the British Isles are starting to use barley for their gins. And I just brought this another example, the Drumshambo Irish whiskey producers that also got into the gin market. And of course there's a few more out there, but I wanted to give you more Irish labels to look for during this Irish month celebrating Paddy's. These are all beautiful products, but I wanted to focus on the Bohane since it's coming out of a female distiller, to give her props. We just had International Women's Day also. So this is kind of a little big circle closing, right? But anyway, once you have your neutral spirit, again, most typically quality in the past has been wheat. Today you can be barley, a good quality grain. You would infuse it, and traditionally with juniper berries, and there are other few botanicals that have been classically found on gins. Some of them include citrus peel, coriander, other roots, other herbs. It kind of really depends again paying attention to the traditional local foraging, what is close to you, and some of them were adapted to your style of gin. But again, classically, what makes gin a gin is the juniper berries more than anything. Genevieve, I mean, there's a huge juniper tradition as well in other parts of the world, like the Netherlands, and they all have their own twist and take. But we have different styles, like London Dry became very famous, and then the Navy Strength, and then the Old Tom gin, which was typically, if not sweetened, then it touched wood, so a little bit of wood contact gin. So there's many styles of gin today out there, and a lot of them being revived, a lot of them branching out. For example, I had a French gin that was using a grape spirit, a neutral grape spirit, and they infused it with the flower of the grapevine. So obviously France has a huge viticultural tradition, and they're exhausting that. They are incrementing that by using it in a different way, in a new way, obviously a niche market. But gin can be very fun, just because it gives you a botanical profile depending on the locality, but also obviously the choosing of the master distiller. Other very traditional gin, a protected denomination of origin for gin, is the Mahon or Mahon gin out of the Spanish islands. Very classic Christmassy type gin. So there's a lot of fun gin out there. Keep trying. A lot of people, you say gin and it's either hate or love it. I think today it's mostly a misunderstood spirit, and also maybe those people don't know that it has broken those barriers, that it can be a lot more approachable now with wider flavor profile that they might have been used to. Because I guess if you were drinking gin in the modern times, not in the gin craze, but in the modern times, in the, say, 40s, 50s, 60s, when it's like gin and tonic, I mean, you had this style of gin that was kind of in your face, quite bitter, quite astringent, quite dry, but it was kind of the norm for the most part in your gin and tonic. So if you had somebody, sharing you part of that, and it was not for you, then the times have definitely moved on. So I look forward to tasting this with you. Hopefully you can find it in your market, and if not, the Bohane or Bohane, find a different Irish gin to try. There's a few other brands out there, and if you can find an Irish one, then maybe try a Scottish one and see how that diverges from the English gin. So let's give this a whirl. We are tasting neat, and the spirit is clear. My first nasal impact is drying. There is also just a subtle hint of prickliness, but it's mostly drying. I think most prominently what comes out is zest, the citrus zest, lemon lime, and juniper. Like, juniper is definitely forefront with citrus. Then there's coriander, which is somewhat citrusy, but a little more earthy. Savory herbs, thyme and rosemary, bay leaf, laurel. There is a quality of fresh ginger. Between fresh ginger, pickled ginger, there is definitely a pungency, a piquancy, and also very refreshing. So mint, I would add mint to those herbs. There is something dark like plum. Cardamom. So it's adequate and complex. Obviously, I expect that intensity of aroma, so it is adequate. And it's also complex, which is good. Some gins can be a little more linear and monotone. This has a lot going on already on the nose. The average is, the length is average and the character is fine. I do want to revisit this, even though it's not necessarily changing. I enjoy it. I want to go visit. Let's give it a taste. On the palate, the gin is coating with highlights of astringency. Mostly coating, there is astringency and also a slight warming effect. The alcohol, however, is smooth, medium body, medium plus body, and sufficient alcohol. It's not really out of whack, it's not overpowering. I mean, it is a 40% ABV, but still nicely balanced. It is sufficient alcohol. The primary taste is sweet, sour, and bitter. All three attacks happen on the palate about equal amounts. There's not a primary taste, but I do recognize sweetness, sourness, and bitterness all together, and actually a little bit of some highlights of salinity, some highlights of savoriness. So complex on the palate. It has a buttery, oily mouthfeel as well. And most of what I smell actually shows on the palate as well. There is plum, there is dark berries, like both blackberries and currants, black currants. There's piquancy of gingers there. And the citric qualities are there, lemon lime zest, as well as orange skin and orange flesh. It becomes a little fruitier. There's peach and apricot as well. Herbs include thyme and mint, and a little bit of the coriander shows up, and the cardamom as well. The flavor intensities are medium. It is complex and harmonious, very harmonious. It's very easy to sip, it's balanced. The astringency really works well together with the body and all the flavors. I think part of that astringency is combined and compounded maybe by the ginger, the savory herbs, those qualities that make you think more astringent than it should be. But it's very pleasant, very long finish. I can still taste it. My overall impression is excellent. Great mouthfeel, great flavors, great complexity, great balance. Beautiful, great job to the distiller, Bohane. Send me a message, please, if you're watching. Beautiful gin. I would keep this in my cellar or in my library. Definitely will be stocked. Very fun to play with. I would pair this with ceviche, sushi, sashimi, salads. It has enough body, enough astringency, complexity qualities in character that I want some of those dishes that are cleaner, so I can taste them together. That astringency helps you with the salinity, with the fat of those dishes, marries the citric notes of those dishes. I don't know. You tell me what you would pair your gins with if you're just sipping gin with a meal. For this, again, ceviche, sushi, sashimi, salads. Maybe I would do like a shrimp cocktail as well. This is very nice. I love it. If you haven't watched that martini video, I'm gonna leave you a link. Coming up on next Friday, we're gonna release a video on Ukrainian vodka, so stay tuned for that. Hit subscribe so you can be notified on the next tasting. I always look forward to your feedback. Let me know what you want to taste. Any questions you may have about production methods, terroir, categories of spirits. I'll be happy to talk spirits with you. So, thanks for watching. Celebrate St. Paddy's Day at your fashion, whether you're grabbing an Irish beer, some ushkibacha, or some dry gin from Ireland, the Emerald Isles. I look forward to my celebration. Slancha, friends. Thanks for watching. Slancha.